Good afternoon. I'm going to tell you some tall stories about my past. You'll have to decide whether or not they're true. I have a habit of walking ahead and looking around corners. When I was a small child on holiday in Lytham St Anne's, I managed to get lost. A strange woman picked me up and took me to the police station, where I was returned to my frantic parents. Later one time, we went to Morecambe Bay. At that time, Morecambe was seen as a bit more posh than Blackpool. There was a large slide at a swimming pool that went up and up into the air. I couldn't swim, but pestered and pestered until I was allowed to go down the slide. My mother was supposed to catch me at the bottom, but the slide was too quick and I went under and eventually emerged, spluttering and crying. When I was a student at Sheffield Uni, I was a keen walker, and I have a vivid memory of getting lost in a snow-filled landscape with a fellow student on Black Hill in the Pennines. We were ill-equipped with light coats, and I was wearing Doc Martens shoes rather than boots. I remember that we met some mountain rescue climbers who tutted at our stupidity. Somehow we found and followed the river home, which led us to the village of Holmfirth and safety. From my time here at school, one story does shine out. The fourth form used to go to the Wye Valley for their residential trip and stay there on a campsite. As part of the trip, I was helping to supervise a group of children who were to take part in small-scale potholing. Normally this sort of supervision is a breeze, watching, encouraging, cajoling, even chastising the children as they exert themselves. Instead, I found myself fully kitted up and entering into a cave system at the back of the group. I was by far the largest member of the pack, and as the leaders charged ahead into the darkness, the gaps between the rocks became narrower and narrower, and I only just managed to get through them. A large man in a small cave. Eventually, of course, it happened, and I got stuck, deep in a cave system in complete darkness. The nearest child was receding into the distance, and I had that awful feeling of absolute panic that is the memory. I didn't want to ask for help. How humiliating would that have been? So I struggled and struggled and struggled and finally got free. I rushed to catch up and the moment passed unsaid. Of course, all these stories are absolutely true and all involve some measure of risk. Life is full of such individual moments of danger, and experiencing them does make us more resilient and stronger mentally. We learn from them and work out our own limits of endurance, and it helps us to put things in perspective. Today, however, we face a new collective danger with COVID-19, and it is not the time to take risks, for the chances that we take could affect others. I am very conscious of the thought of putting others in harm's way. As we begin to return to school, the safety of us all needs to be our priority. Be aware that in the short term, school will be a very different place socially. Mixing with each other will be controlled, and we will operate in small bubbles of people to prevent infection spreading. The days of children playing together on the playground are still some way off, and when we do come back, we will have to be trained to a new way of thinking that protects ourselves and each other's. As part of our traditional assemblies, we celebrate pupil achievements by awarding certificates. I'd like to mention some of the children who've done well. Mrs Tilbrook has been delighted with the artwork of Emily's Egyptian drawing and Woody's parrot, Alina's tiger picture and Pia's stuck-at-home sheet, which was delightfully drawn. There have been many positives and head certificates sent out as well as the reading certificates. Special mention to Ada in Mrs Thurtle's class, Bobby, Thomas and Ruby in Mrs Rinzo's class, who have achieved 10 positives in a Headmaster's Award, and also Schwen for her work on the Passover. Also, Mrs James wanted me to include Euvan, Rosalie and Victoria for their excellent work. Mrs Welsford would like to commend the whole of Upper 1W for their attitude. But I would say it's a credit to us all that our remote learning is working so well, and I thank you and all the children for your part in this. Keep safe and well. Best wishes, Mr Stubbs.